Before this story begins, let me ask you something. What do you do for a living? And have you ever experienced something at work that still makes no sense, no matter how much time has passed? If stories about real professions, hidden truths, and moral choices interest you, subscribe to the channel and share your experience in the comments. You never know who might recognize themselves in this story. Now, listen carefully, because some secrets don't stay buried. When Emily Harper accepted the position at the county medical examiner's office, she believed she knew exactly what awaited her. Long hours, cold rooms, silent bodies, facts instead of feelings. She was 32, freshly graduated from medical school, specialized in pathology, and proud of it. While many of her classmates chased prestige in private hospitals, Emily chose a quieter, less visible path. She told herself it was about truth, about giving answers to families who would never get them otherwise. On her first morning, she stood outside the building longer than necessary. The structure was old, gray, and functional. No sign announced its purpose loudly. It didn't need to. Everyone in town already knew what happened inside those walls. She took a deep breath and stepped in. The air was cooler than expected, heavy with disinfectant and something else she couldn't immediately name. Not fear, not sadness, something more neutral, final. At the reception desk, a middle-aged woman smiled politely and handed her an access badge. "You'll be working mostly with Dr. Alan Reeves," she said. "He's been here a long time." That was the first time Emily heard his name. Dr. Reeves was already inside the examination room when Emily entered. He was in his late 40s, maybe early 50s, with tired eyes and careful movements. His voice was calm, steady, practiced. "You must be Emily," he said, extending a gloved hand. "Welcome." There was nothing unusual about him at first glance, no dramatic presence, no unsettling behavior, just a professional man doing a difficult job. Over the next hours, he guided her through procedures, protocols, documentation. He explained everything patiently, without arrogance. When Emily hesitated, he waited. When she asked questions, he answered thoroughly. She felt relieved. By the end of the day, her nerves had settled. The work was serious, yes, but controlled, methodical, honest. Or so it seemed. During lunch, they sat in the small break room. Dr. Reeves stirred his coffee absent-mindedly, staring at the wall. "You get used to it," he said quietly. The silence. Emily nodded. "I expected it to be harder." He smiled faintly. "It will be, just not today." She didn't know why those words stayed with her. Weeks passed. Emily adapted quickly. She learned the rhythm of the office, the unspoken rules, the emotional distance everyone maintained. She noticed that Dr. Reeves often stayed late, sometimes well past closing hours. At first, she admired his dedication. He never complained, never rushed. He treated every case with the same care, regardless of status or circumstance. But small things began to stand out. Once, while filing reports, Emily noticed a discrepancy, a missing authorization form. It was minor, easily explained by bureaucracy. Another time, she found a case listed as transferred earlier than usual. When she asked Dr. Reeves about it, he answered smoothly. "Administrative error," he said. "I'll handle it." And he did. Every time. Emily told herself she was overthinking. New environments made people suspicious. That was normal. Still, something didn't sit right. One evening, as she prepared to leave, she heard voices from one of the secured rooms. She paused. It was late. The office should have been empty except for Dr. Reeves. She didn't recognize the other voice. It wasn't raised, it wasn't angry, just quiet, intentional. Emily stood frozen, her hand on her bag. She told herself to leave. Instead, she waited. A few minutes later, the door opened. Dr. Reeves stepped out, startled when she saw her. "Oh," he said, "didn't realize you were still here." "Just finishing up," Emily replied, watching his face carefully. He smiled, but it didn't quite reach his eyes. That night, Emily lay awake longer than usual. She thought about the files, the timing, the unknown voice, and for the first time since starting the job, a thought crossed her mind that made her uncomfortable. What if this place held more than answers? What if the truth she was searching for wasn't in the reports, but in the people writing them? She didn't know it yet, but her career and her conscience were about to be tested in ways medical school had never prepared her for. And the secret she would uncover would change how she saw right and wrong forever. Emily tried to ignore the feeling. That quiet sense that something was wrong didn't scream. It whispered, it waited, and that made it harder to silence. She focused on her work, autopsy reports, cause of death confirmations, long hours under bright lights where everything was measured, labeled, documented. This was science. There was comfort in precision. Still, patterns began to emerge. Not dramatic ones, no missing bodies, no obvious crimes, just timing. Certain cases moved faster than others. Certain transfers happened after hours. Paperwork was always correct, but barely. Signatures appeared exactly where needed, always from the same hand. Dr. Reeves. Emily noticed that he handled a specific category of cases alone. Patients with no immediate family, people whose deaths attracted little attention. No one asked questions about them. There was no one to ask. One afternoon, she stayed late to catch up on reports. The office was quiet, the kind of quiet that pressed against the ears. She opened a digital archive and cross-checked several recent cases. Her stomach tightened. 3 cases, different names, different dates, same internal coding irregularity. She leaned back in her chair, staring at the screen. Coincidence, she told herself, but she printed the files anyway. The next day, she casually mentioned the inconsistencies to Dr. Reeves. He didn't react immediately. Then he smiled, slow and calm. "You're thorough. That's good. Just be careful not to read ghosts into spreadsheets." His tone was gentle, almost kind. But something changed after that. He became more attentive, asked about her schedule, offered to help with her workload, suggested she leave early when she stayed late. It felt protective. Too protective. One evening, Emily ran into a nurse she hadn't seen before, visiting the office for documentation. They chatted briefly. "Dr. Reeves is a good man," the nurse said. "Hard life, though." Emily looked up. "What do you mean?" The nurse hesitated. "His son, very sick, has been for years. Treatments aren't cheap." Emily nodded slowly. That explained the fatigue, the long hours, the heaviness behind his eyes. For a moment, her suspicions softened, but not completely. Weeks later, Emily found something she couldn't explain away. A storage log, accessed at night, equipment used without scheduled procedures. She stood alone in the archive room, the hum of machines surrounding her. Her hands trembled slightly. This wasn't sloppy work, it was intentional. That night she didn't sleep. She thought about her oath, about truth, about harm, and about the man who had welcomed her on her first day. Emily realized she had reached a point of no return. Either she ignored what she was seeing, or she kept looking. She chose to keep looking. The truth didn't come all at once. It came in fragments. A locked cabinet accessed only by Dr. Reeves, unlogged deliveries, a private contact number saved on a shared system under a neutral label. Emily followed the trail carefully, quietly, until one night she stayed later than planned. She heard movement again, voices, The same low, controlled tones. This time, she didn't freeze. She stepped closer. From the hallway, she saw Dr. Reeves speaking to a man in civilian clothes. No uniforms, no official badges. A sealed container sat between them. Emily's breath caught. She didn't need to hear the words. She understood. Later, Dr. Reeves found her in her office. The door was closed behind him. "I know you've noticed things," he said. There was no anger in his voice, just exhaustion. Emily stood. "What are you doing?" He took a long breath. "My son is dying," he said quietly, slowly, painfully, "and the system doesn't care." Emily felt the room tilt. "You never harmed anyone," he continued. "These were cases no one claimed, no one waited for. I made sure of that." She stared at him, torn. "You're breaking the law," she said. "Yes," he replied, "to save a life." Silence stretched between them. He looked older in that moment, smaller. "I won't involve you," he said, "but I can't stop. Not yet." Emily said nothing. That night she drove home in shock. She understood his reason. She understood his pain, but she also understood what it meant, and now she carried the weight of knowing. Days passed. Emily functioned. She worked, she smiled, she signed reports. But inside, she was unraveling. Every time she looked at Dr. Reeves, she saw two men, the devoted father and the criminal. She imagined the consequences. If she reported him, if she stayed silent, either way, someone would suffer. She began documenting everything, quietly, securely, not to destroy him, but because truth demanded a record. Then something changed. Dr. Reeves's son took a sudden turn for the worse. The hospital called during work hours. Emily watched Dr. Reeves crumble in a way she had never seen. That night, she made a decision. She confronted him one last time. "I won't expose you," she said, "but this ends now." He looked at her, eyes red. "I know," he whispered. "I never wanted it to go this far." Within days, the illegal activity stopped. A month later, Dr. Reeves resigned. Officially, it was for personal reasons. No investigation followed, no headlines, just silence. Emily stayed. She took over more responsibility, earned trust, built a reputation. Years passed. Sometimes she thought about Dr. Reeves, about his son, about the choices people make when cornered. She never spoke of it publicly, but the experience changed her. She no longer believed right and wrong were always clear. Some truths lived in shadows, and some secrets were carried not because they were hidden, but because revealing them would cause more harm than healing. Emily became known as someone who looked deeper, not just at bodies, but at people, and she never forgot her first lesson as a pathologist. The hardest things to examine are not the dead, they are the living.